Hello, I'm Derek, and this is Comic Fade. Today, I'll be launching a new series on the channel called the Memory Series. In this collection of videos, other Comic Fade members and I will look back on a nostalgic memory or story in the books, comics, TV shows, video games, and movies we love so dearly. Today, I'll be talking about my long-lasting love of Star Wars and how it impacted me. And I won't be just talking about a specific Star Wars movie, I'll be talking about everything Star Wars and how it impacted me. And let's start at the very beginning, a very good place to start. Back in 2008, when I was 6, I didn't go to movies a lot. Around 5 to 6 times a year probably, but not as much as I do now, which is like every week. So it was a big thing. My dad, for some reason, I don't know why, decided to take me to see Madagascar 2. We arrive at the theater, and we walk in, and I'm happy to see a movie. Love movies. I always loved movies. I don't think anyone can hate movies. So we walked in, and, my dad said, 2 for Madagascar 2. It turns out that Madagascar 2 was sold out. While we were walking out of the theater, there was a big poster for Star Wars Clone Wars with now showing on the top. And we turned around and my dad bought 2 for that. And that was my first Star Wars experience. I know not a lot of people's first Star Wars movie is the Clone Wars. I'm probably one of a select very few, but the introduction to this world is what mattered the most. Couldn't stop thinking about it when I left the theater. Wasn't just a movie for me, it completely changed everything. And right after we exited the theater, we went to a McDonald's. I bought my first Star Wars toy, one of the McDonald's Happy Meal toys. It was always funny to me that my first, Star Wars experience was not bound to happen. It was, I guess, a bit of a mistake, which makes it even more interesting. As a side note, I'm seeing The Last Jedi 9 years later at the same theater I saw The Clone Wars. So I guess it comes full circle. The Star Wars The Clone Wars show started airing shortly after. Of course, as you guys probably guessed, I started watching and it became a weekly thing. I remember every Friday, 8 o'clock, couldn't miss it. A few weeks or month or 2 after, my dad didn't really know when to show me. He was always very busy, so he didn't know when to show me, the Star Wars movies. But my grandpa came over to stay, used to DVR movies and then put them on discs, so he gave me these burnt from DVR discs of the original trilogy. I remember putting the disc in a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and then bam, Star Wars, the music kicks in. As much as Clone Wars really did start it, that was the moment that I started falling in love with the movies. I really fell in love with them. The original trilogy were the first ones that I watched. Soon after, I watched the prequels as well. After seeing Star Wars 1977, I completely fell in love with the entire franchise. Not to say that Clone Wars didn't start that, it did, but this was the moment where I truly, I think, became a Star Wars fan. Not only did the story captivate me, and it's captivated so many others because it's a perfect story. It's a story that, even though it's taking place in a galaxy far, far away, stars characters with interesting names and aliens and robots, everyone can relate to it. Also, after I watched Star Wars, all of Star Wars, not only did I watch Star Wars, I, of course, continued on to The Empire Strikes Back, and then Return of the Jedi, and then all the prequels. I also used to play the Lego Star Wars video games a ton. That was a huge part as well. After watching, I also had some questions about how films were made. Before that, I didn't know a lot since I was a little kid of 6. I used to think we had this outdoor showing of movies in this big park in town. It's still going on, and I go sometimes, but they were showing Shrek on this big screen, and I used to think that everything happens behind the screen, and there's some sort of projecting system that projects them onto the screen. I was like, how are they doing this? After watching behind the scenes and extras, I was like, wow, it isn't that. And that's when my love of filmmaking began. It's when my knowledge started, when I knew more about film than I ever did before. I began researching more and more into film. I started making stop motion animation films with my Lego sets, a lot of them Star Wars themed. Just that began my fascination and gave me confidence that, I could make a film too. Whether it was just 5 pictures with a camera I took from my parents, anyone can make a film, and I kind of learned that, and I became obsessed with the stop motion. Not only did the show become a weekly thing, the movies became a daily thing. I'm the type of person that when I like something, I'm totally into it. So after, watching all the Star Wars movies, any one of them I would have to watch one a day. And that continued for a very, very long time. And after I fell in love with Star Wars, I wanted, everyone else to fall in love with Star Wars. What was just this passion for me, I tried to give to everyone. Whether it was friends, family, or strangers, I tried to get everyone as into Star Wars as I could. I felt like it was kind of my responsibility. And my sisters were born shortly after my love for Star Wars began, August of the next year, 2009. And here's a picture of me torturing them with Star Wars. Well, one is very interested, the other one is a little not so interested, but that was my sticker book that I brought around everywhere with me. They're a week old. They don't know any words yet except crying, and I'm trying to get them into my favorite thing ever, which I just love the picture. Star Wars really occupied me a lot throughout my younger years, because you know how a child's mind is. It wanders. There's so much that you don't know. I would use Star Wars to channel that. I would play Star Wars with all my friends on the playground, dress up all the time. At least half the Halloweens in my life, I dressed up as either Boba Fett or a stormtrooper. And also just action figures. I used to bring them everywhere with me of all the Star Wars characters. That escape that Star Wars gave me helped me a lot in when my father passed away in 2012. And just movies in general, but specifically Star Wars, it picks me up. I owe it that, because it was a really dark time, and especially around me, and I could feel that. But Star Wars, whenever I'm sad now, whenever I was sad then, I would always use it to pick me up, be happy. And I always think of Star Wars as my dad's gift to me, the accidentally stumbling onto Star Wars, and how he would always respect my interest and buy me Star Wars toys and Star Wars clothes and costumes, watch them with me, and tell me about his experiences, like how he wandered off from his family and went to go into a Star Wars exhibit when he first saw it in 1977. He left me with these wonderful films, and he also left me with this sense of filmmaking that I still pursue strongly to this day, and now I want to go into film. So thanks, Dad. That love for Star Wars that I still carry dear to me to this day is still rubbing off to people. It's become a tradition for my family. This year, a conflict came up, and my mom was like, we can't go. It's Star Wars Day. I think that's the power of Star Wars, that fans will always be there. Whether it's a fan since the first premiere in 1977, or a kid whose first experience with Star Wars is The Last Jedi, or some dude like me who critiques it on the internet, Star Wars has impacted them. And I think I'll end it there. I am, and my entire family is so excited for The Last Jedi, which is releasing this Friday, so 2 days from today. And going into that, just everyone be nice to each other. I love seeing, a Star Wars theater of people enjoying it so much, and I can't wait to see that with The Last Jedi this Friday. And what are some of your Star Wars memories? How did you get into it? I want to build the memory series even bigger than it is now. So if you'd like to guest in a video or anything, make sure to hit my Twitter up at Derek of CF, or email ComicFade. I want the memory series to be a space where fans can talk about those super sweet memories, because what's better than that? Thank you guys, as always, for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.